But now I don't see those cobbles and curbs. I don't hear the blues anymore.
Rough Trade is giving away a third of the first 3 months of the Rough Trade Club plus new music membership exclusively to 101 Part-Time Jobs listeners. Become a member of Rough Trade Club New Music and you'll receive the Rough Trade Album of the Month straight to your door every month on exclusive vinyl pressing with exclusive bonus material. Club members have received exclusive pressings of albums from Sufjan Stevens, Sprints, The Last Dinner Party, Julie Byrne and Over Mono, just to name a few, this past year alone. Sign up using the promo code CLUB101POD and you'll get the Rough Trade Album of the Month, English Teacher's excellent debut album, This Could Be Texas, on exclusive Galaxy Gold for a third of the usual price. Here's English Teacher on a recent episode of 101.
How many opportunities do you get to write a debut album and have all of this, sport behind us? I don't know, I really like the idea of holding the bar as being like classic songs.
You only get one shot at a debut.
Don't want the album of the month but still want all the benefits? Sign up to the standard tier using Club 101 Pod and you'll still get the first month free. You'll also get free shipping on all orders, 10% off the bar and on secondhand vinyl in store, and exclusive access to sold out Rough Trade events. So don't hang around. Go to roughtrade.com/club and sign up with the code CLUB101POD. That's CLUB101POD and claim money off the album of the month, English Teachers This Could Be Texas, today. This offer's available to UK residents only. Do you play in bands? I did for the longest time. And I wish that I knew that DistroKid was a thing. I don't even think it existed back then. DistroKid makes music distribution fun and easy with unlimited uploads, and artists keep 100% of your royalties and earnings. 1 million plus artists rely on DistroKid to get their music on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, Instagram, and all the major streaming services. When you get DistroKid, you can see a DistroKid bank and withdraw your earnings. You get notified when you've earned royalties and you can withdraw via the app. And you can even check your streaming stats on Spotify and Apple. Get 30% off your first year on DistroKid by going to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod. 30% off for your first year. That's not bad. We know it's a tough world out there. Why don't you make it easier for yourself? And to get 30% off that free year as an artist, where you get 100% of your royalties and earnings, go to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod. All right, stay with me. I'll be right back after this.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
All right, you're listening to 101 Part-Time Jobs with me, Giles Bidder. It's the podcast where I speak to bands and artists about how they've got through the years playing music. A lot of people have been working side hustles. Some others have been doing it full time. And I think if you're in either parties, there's always going to be a challenge of keeping the next thing going. What's next on the plate? So that's what I'm trying to do, get those kinds of stories. Cheers for listening. And on today's episode, we've got Oscar Browne, a founding member of folk collective Broadside Hacks. And he's got a new EP coming out this Friday. It's called If Only. It's coming out on So Young Records. So Young is a brilliant magazine and also record label. We'll have an episode with them coming tomorrow. Oscar's also got some headline shows in November. On the 15th, it's at Folklore. Haven't been there yet, but I heard it's nice. On the 29th in Bristol at Crofters Rights 2. And on the 30th in Manchester at the Castle Hotel. So if you're around those places, you've been liking these songs, then you know what to do. Try and head to one of those shows. Thanks for listening to 101 Part-Time Jobs. I appreciate all of you. I'm really thankful to hear these stories and to share them. So I'm grateful to be here and do it. If you're able to subscribe or leave a rating or a review, if you've got 10 seconds, that would be massively appreciated. means I can keep on getting more excellent guests from across the world, really. I've got episodes coming up with Buck Meek from Big Thief. That was supposed to be today, but we've delayed it. I need to get the audio from his side. I realised I didn't have it. Pit Blom, Fiddler, Snail Mail, Baby Queen, Jelani Blackman are all names coming up in the next couple of weeks. So if you want to find out in the minute those episodes come out, then click that bell button and get notified when they do. Before we get into this chat, I'm here with Rebecca from Eka, multi-instrumentalist, plays piano, plays saxophone, also a brand ambassador for Ampolo, which is a great brand new free app for musicians. All right, Rebecca, could you tell us a little bit about Ampolo?
Yeah, I've been using Ampolo, which is an app that came out earlier this year, actually. Smart with its AI demixing tools. So in under a minute, it will completely demix a track, which means I can take out the drums, the bass, vocals, whatever it is I want to be trying my own part over. Whereas before, I would be Googling chords and then on YouTube Googling the song and kind of flicking between the tabs while setting up my instrument and trying to practice along. It all happens in the app. And then I'm posting it to a feed if I want that social aspect of it, but I don't have to. I've been spending many hours just practicing parts and thinking, wow, this is so easy, play again and again to make sure I nail that bit.
So it's a practice tool, you can film yourself, it's free, it's out there, Ampolo. You can download it today. All right, this is 101 Part-Time Jobs, and here's Oscar Browne, who's about to release his new EP, If Only, this Friday. Catch him on tour in November. 101 Part-Time Jobs. This, which is like, I guess I became aware of you at the start of the year from your singles, and then I didn't know you were part of Broadside Hacks. Tell me a bit about that, because you were in like a heavier band, Dead Pretties, before. You did you played some great festivals, released some really good tunes, and it kind of finished, it kind of like, I'm not sure if I read this, or it kind of like, in the way that bands do, especially when you're young, they kind of implode in their own particular kind of way. We can start there, or we can start with Broadside Hacks, but I guess listening to Broadside Hacks and understanding the story there and that real desire, that kind of thirst to for knowledge really of folk and the traditional lines of it and the storytelling, for me, that goes much deeper than, fucking jamming out Territorial Pissings style rock and roll. Was there a period of a few years after Dead Pretties that you found different things and you felt inspired by new things?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know quite where to begin with that, but I guess a bit of background is I've always written my own music, whether that's just to myself. I've always written my own songs, even from when I was 15. What did you play in Dead Pretties? Sorry. So I was just playing bass, and I think I did some singing. Yeah, I was just rocking out hard, getting all that teenage frustration out.
Yeah.
And it was that band was just kind of a bit of a phase, really. It was fun to do, and we did lots of tours, met loads of people, but it was kind of a teenage angsty band, which
yeah.
Suddenly we weren't teenagers anymore, and we were just all we don't want to make music like this.
Yeah. And you can never regret that, because you can only be who you are at the time. I think that was something that I felt very much growing up in bands. I was I felt slightly embarrassed about it, talking to people at school, for example, or at work, or even family, like cousins and stuff, because it's a very specific time and place you are with your mates. It's very inwards looking, right?
Yeah, it's funny. And also even now, we weren't particularly big or anything. We kind of quit before we could get big. But someone messaged me the other day saying they're around 18 years old or something, and they covered one of our songs at their school performance, which is crazy. I'm glad that people like it. I'm not the biggest fan, but
yeah.
But yeah, Broadside Hacks is a bit of a jump. From there.
So when that ended, let's go from there. When Dead Pretties, when that band, the teenage band, fell apart, where did that leave you? Did you have a fallow period where you kind of, because look, it goes almost without saying, but let's say it, they're like, even when you're playing on the weekends, even when you're doing bits and bobs as a band, that's so much of your energy, so much of your mental capacity, so much of your social life. It's not, you can't just stop being a band and then everything's fine one day to the next. There is going to be this like traumatic fucking grieving period, right? Whether you want it or not.
Yeah, I think as well, because we were young in that band, we got signed to Warner, and suddenly there was like loads of money, or like a fair amount of money being thrown at us. And we were kind of like, oh, well, we don't need to work now. We'll just like play all these festivals. And then suddenly that was taken away and like reality hit. And I was like, fuck, like, what am I going to do now?
And you're young, a young man's brain.
Very naive, and just like, I feel like I spent a couple of years just like working things out after that.
Yeah.
Because we basically finished school and then just like suddenly, well, not suddenly signed. We like played loads of gigs and like worked towards it, but it was, confusing times.
Yeah, definitely confusing. And I think maybe we weren't signed to any label that gave us money, but I had that, after working really hard, and although I wouldn't say that at the time, I wouldn't say working hard towards being a band. It was just kind of like the one thing I wanted to do. Those years were really confusing because you're fucked with your identity, and like there's no real immediate answer to that solution.
Yeah, I guess it took me a while to figure out what I wanted. All I knew is that like I'd always written my own songs, and like I think after Dead Pretties I still played in what is now called Wunderhorse and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Played for other people, but just over those years just like realized I wanted to just focus on my own thing. And then during kind of COVID, you kind of had to focus on your own thing. I was kind of forced to, and that was obviously it was a weird time for everyone, but it was kind of great for me musically. Just wrote loads, and then kind of at the same time out of lockdown, the Broadside Hacks thing popped out, which was like a massive inspiration for me, just finding people my own age who love folk music and just like having a good time with it. Yeah, it's just great.
With Broadside Hacks, it's a collective. It's a folk collective that's really keen on learning from the past and seeing how far back these songs go. And the most beautiful part about it for me is that it's not linear. There's no set shape of it. It's fluid. It kind of looks like whatever you want it to be at the time, ostensibly. And there's just so much freedom in that, especially in a world where like, and this does go into like the kind of reality of playing music and whether you can or can't and the logistical side of it. But the idea of having the same 4 band members forever, it's becoming like an old thing. It kind of makes sense. Why wouldn't you have the ability to shapeshift?
Yeah, I mean, that was another inspiration for me, just like meeting all these musicians who are, they play violin, they play cello. They'd be like, I feel like for years I wasn't really hanging out with those kinds of people. It was just the same kind of guitar, bass, drums, just like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like, I've always loved folk music, and I don't really know what I'm saying other than like that was a massive inspiration for me, meeting all those musicians. And
no, totally. I know. I think you say you don't know what you're saying, but like that totally makes sense. Hanging out with people who play different instruments. I mean, it makes me think, when you were talking about having those years of confusion and kind of figuring out what you want for yourself, did you have people around you that you could kind of speak openly and freely with? Like, did you have like pals that you could, be vulnerable around, or even like family? And I know saying this out loud is a weird thing, but it's true. Like, we really need communication like that to like hear ourselves say what we think sometimes.
Yeah, I think, well, all my friends who are musicians who write songs and like have their own projects, I feel like they all have a little circle of friends who they kind of rely on, especially at the start of a project. It's like sending out songs and getting the feeling for like, is it good? Is it bad? Like, what do people like? And there's like the friends of mine, like, I don't know if you know Asher and Louis from the band Sorry.
Yeah,
I went to school.
Ashwood just came on for an episode.
Oh, amazing! So I went to school with them. They're kind of a couple of people who are in that little circle of, yeah, just people you'd send songs to, and like just getting before like uploading it onto whatever you're going to put it onto. It's always nice to have friends say it's good or say it's bad. Just to get some kind of reaction is so important.
Definitely, and contextualize it. I often think when you're in a room writing music, like you're trying to like drill into yourself the most you can be, like trying to like get to like the purest thing of what you find interesting or important, right? Or funny or serious or whatever it is, whatever makes you feel good. And that's so far removed from any kind of context most of the time. I feel like you need someone to be like, oh, that reminds me of this or that, or I can imagine you playing that festival or supporting this band, or like even like the artwork, what the artwork might look like.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, I find it really important to kind of just not keep things in, because I feel like that's something I do quite naturally, just in general. So it's important to kind of just let go a bit and like not be too precious about things, because in the long run you can just improve so much more.
It's not easy though, is it?
It's not easy at all, and yeah, but it helps a lot. Yeah.
Did you going to school with Asher and Louis? Was that in North London?
Yeah.
What was that like growing up? Did you grow in an area that like people were like going off, people were traveling, people were working, saving money? What did your kind of like, what did your options look like when you finished school?
So I and Louis did the same. So I didn't do A levels. I was like so like certain that I was gonna do music in some form, and I don't know what I was. It's a really weird time, that kind of age, and I struggled quite a lot. And I think music was kind of my. I was just so focused on that and kind of had a bit of tunnel vision that I didn't do A levels or go to uni or anything. I was just like, that's all I wanted to do. So I did like a BTEC in music and stuff, and kind of, I don't know, just like messed around for a bit. I'm really lucky to have parents who, they don't live in London anymore, but at the time, just like having parents' place to crash in London was like unbelievably lucky, which is a massive help to play gigs, obviously.
Did it give you like joy, or was it more of a like a battle, knowing that all you want to do is music?
It was both. I think I just like, I'm quite like all or nothing, like very tunnel vision about things in general. And that age, I just hated school. Like I really, and hated all the exams. I really didn't do well with all that. The only thing that, I think the only A I ever got was like in music, and that's kind of just says everything really. I just didn't really give a shit about anything else. Which is not like the best way of looking at it. But yeah.
Well, I feel like if you just give yourself one option, you know, it's kind of like you have to.
Yeah.
and like given that, and you know, this is part of the whole 101 part-time jobs conversation, and that element of like, there's always going to be like a psychodrama of being in a band and like trying to work it out. And I do wonder if, and similar thing like what I'm trying to do with the podcast and trying to like interview bands for a living, I suppose, is that if you're doing it kind of longer than anyone else, maybe you give yourself the best chance to keep on doing it, you know?
I think it was a mixture of wanting to like do something in music and to play gigs, and I think I cared a lot more about like making it as a band then. Like I don't really, obviously making money from music is like very important to keep going. You got to pay the rent and stuff. But I feel like then I was like, as a 16-year-old, was more, for some reason, was thinking about like successful musician kind of stuff more than I do now. Maybe I just know how it works now.
What were your early 20s like? Because that's always like a funny one. I mean, I feel like the kind of the between your early 20s where everything's fine and you can work part-time or work at the pub and, you know, get smashed all the time, at some point that's like it stops working. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're like, this isn't what it was, and that's a real hard mirror to kind of face up to?
Yeah, I think early 20s, my first band had just split up, and I was kind of in a weird transitional phase of like, what is life? Like, I always feel like I need a project to like keep me going. Otherwise I'm just kind of lost in no man's land. So as soon as I like started working towards my solo project, I kind of got my head in gear a bit, and like in lockdown when all that Broadside Hacks stuff started happening, like one of the reasons why we started playing folk music together was because I just set up a studio in Peckham, which lockdown enabled me to have the time to do.
Amazing.
That was pretty insane, and like that's still going now.
And what's the studio called?
It's called Yellow Room because it's all yellow. Yeah.
Ace. And you tell us the story of it. Was it, how built out was it when you discovered it?
So my friend Liam, his project is called Mella. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
I played a lot of music with him, and he's like really close to me and one of my favorite artists, really. Anyway, he is a carpenter and has like builds these, it's in an industrial estate, and he just builds these rooms for people, not for like any profit or money. He's just really like a really nice guy, and just like basically built these rooms, and someone was moving out of it, so I just like leapt at the opportunity, really. Yeah,
it's kind of like a rental thing.
Yeah, it's like kind of sublets. It's all a bit confusing, but I basically rent it off him, and then like I share it with loads of other people. Jerkub's in there at the moment. Folly Group are in there. A band called Tape. Honey Glaze. Like
amazing. Those are all great bands.
Yeah, I mean it's just like loads of really nice people in there at the moment. It's like I feel really lucky to be able to have that, because it means I don't have to pay for rehearsals, which is like insanely expensive at the moment. Yeah, coming from playing in bands and like you all split the rehearsal stuff, and then it's like starting a solo project, suddenly you're paying for everything. It's like a nightmare, but somehow people work through it. I don't know. Having
a place, having an HQ, I can imagine not only is it, you know, a sort of a money saver, but emotionally and kind of like in your mind, you're like, all of a sudden you have an actual space, you know, you have a place to go to. I imagine that's a really powerful idea.
Yeah, it was a massive game changer. Like I can't thank my friend Liam enough, really. I mean, just being, especially at the start, because it was just me there at the start and figuring out everything. And I did a lot of, so the songs that I've released recently, I ended up re-recording, but all the demos were done in that kind of first phase of setting up the studio. And yeah, I can't recommend like having your own space enough, really, even if it's a bit like daunting. It's like it saves money as well in the long run. So
is it hard to record yourself, you know, in terms of like, was that part good enough? Was that tracking good enough? At what point to think, that's the take, I'm not going to try anymore just because I'm here alone doesn't mean that I'm going to go on forever?
Yeah, I feel like I've got better at it, but at the start I was pretty bad at knowing when to stop. It'd just be like 100 tracks going, like I just want to like add more and more and more, and that's probably why they're now demos and I've re-recorded everything, to be honest. But it was fun, and you get the like gist of an idea down, and being able to send it to people, like we were talking about, getting ideas back from people, feedback.
And you're learning, like that's as well as the actual tracking the songs, you can take pleasure, take reward in like learning how it works. And like meeting all the Broadside Hacks people, like recording strings and stuff like that. Like I didn't know how to do that, but it was really fun and I learned a lot. I can imagine a lot of people in bands or artists, you know, they start off with like an idea, kind of a feeling they want to go towards, but that goalposts are always moving, right? You discover something new and you're like, oh, I love the way that sounds, and you start bringing that into your own idea, your own ideas, your own kind of vision of where you want to go in. If it sounds like being friends with people who are playing music and having that kind of community aspect of like that encourages you to push yourself forward.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually a massive part of why I love. So where my studio is in a complex of like 5 or 6 other studios, and everyone just like there's like Caroline next door.
Brilliant band.
A band called O Dot. They're next. Oh yeah, it's just like loads of people who, you know, say if I was recording a song, I could be like, oh, I'd love to get some sax on that, or like it's just like a constant flow of musicians who are like helping each other out. In a really kind of nice way.
That takes away the kind of competition element of it that sometimes you can feel.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember when I was like 18 or something, someone talking about like winning a gig. I've always found that really funny. It's like, how was the gig? It's like, yeah, I won that. It's like, fucking hell, man.
Jesus Christ. Well, you learn what not to be as well. I'll tell you.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
101, 101, part-time jobs, 101, 101, 101, part-time jobs.
I also like work at a music shop as well, so I do that a couple of days a week.
Nice. Which one?
It's called Sound Heart in Forest Hill.
Is that the one where you sell quite a lot of trumpets and stuff?
Yeah. It does like...
I like that one.
There's lessons and rehearsals there and stuff. There's kind of all ages of people there. School kid. There's like 2-year-olds to like 92-year-olds there. It's kind of mental. And all my friends like teach there. Jack, who plays bass in my band, that's kind of how I met him actually, was through working there.
You seem very unstressed about it, and that's like a good way to live. You feel you're very relaxed.
I feel relaxed right now. No, I mean it does stress me out a lot, like doing loads of part-time jobs kind of here and there, and like there is no routine. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's just whenever people give me a call to say that, it's like you can't rely on it, is what I'm trying to say. That isn't relaxing. That's really stressful. But I just do my best to like try and have 3 or 4 different things on the go, so I'm hopefully busy all the time.
And something like driving, it's not like 2 hours down the road. That's like a full day block out.
Yeah. It's kind of intense. I did one day driving recently where I set my alarm for 1:45 in the morning.
Damn.
I've never done that before, but yeah.
Where were you going? Where were you driving?
I was driving Prima Queen to play at the 100. It was in Cardiff. They needed to load in to play this cricket match, which was being aired on BBC. We need to load in at like 7:30 or something in the morning. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
How was that? Did you get to watch the 100?
So what happened is it started raining, so all the cricket was cancelled, and Prima ended up playing like 3 sets. So they basically headlined this cricket stadium. It was interesting. Yeah, I used to kind of mentally prepare for stuff and be like, oh, I'm going to this place and this place. Now I've started driving and like touring for my own gigs as well. It's like my brain can't really keep up with that. So now I just kind of wake up and I'm like, fuck it. Am I going to Manchester today? It's too much for my brain.
What's the plan? So you put out a few singles. Cut Me Off is really lovely. The video that's with that is gorgeous. Where did you film that?
Yeah, I was really happy with that video. It was in Snowdonia. We drove down there. A guy called Luke Ainger did the video. He directed it, and found this location. It was like an abandoned slate quarry. Yeah, we drove down there, which is like a 6-hour drive. Did the video at night, and then like I think we finished at like 12 or 1 in the morning, and he drove us straight back, which was kind of insane. So I ended up getting like 7:30 in the morning, and then the
job done.
Well, yeah, kind of, and the video was being released like the next day or like 2 days later. So like that video didn't get a single edit. It was just kind of like, this is the video, cool, let's like put it on YouTube.
Brilliant.
So he did an amazing job on that. Yeah.
We saved the hassle of like the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th edit, which can drive anyone around the bend.
Yeah. That just wasn't even an option. So, but it didn't need to be, yeah, because he smashed it. Yeah.
Well, your songs are so lovely. You've got a really distinguishable voice, really lovely lyrics, really poetic. Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, what have you got coming up? Are you recording all the time? Is there an album on the horizon?
I'd love to do an album. In November, I got 3 headline dates. So there's London on the 15th, and then Bristol and Manchester. I think it's 29th and 30th of November, which is exciting but terrifying because I've done headlines before, so it's like
you haven't done headlines before.
Well, not for my own solo project. Yeah, so hopefully people turn up. Please turn up.
They will. I mean, that's part of having a few friends, right?
Yeah. Or the people I share the studio with. Yeah, just get them down.
No, it's gonna be amazing. Your songs are so lovely, Oscar.
Thank you. Cheers.
Look, thanks so much for being up for doing this. I like to finish asking people about kind of their fuck ups at work, or like the biggest kind of work gaffes. I mean, I've been sort of caught eating stuff working at a supermarket and not been fired, but just felt the shame, you know. And I felt shame quite a lot in my working life. So I think this is a little feature to make me feel better. What's the do anything come to mind?
I've definitely fucked up lots of times. I'm trying to think of something. I feel like all the jobs from being like 17, 18 until pretty much the last couple of years, I've been like either fired from or just like they've just stopped offering me shifts. I don't know if this is a fuck up, but this is a fuck up I ended up getting away with. I was working at Ali Pali I was like working at the bar, and I was like, it was this weird setup where there was people at the front serving drinks and I was at the back basically just pushing a button to like that the beer would pour down, and every pint that I poured I'd have like half a pint to myself, so I ended up just getting absolutely wasted. And there was a gig on at Ali Pali and I just thought, oh fuck this, I'm just gonna go watch the gig. So I just ended up being at a gig at Ali Pali off my face, and then walked back and like signed out of the work thing, and like no one even noticed I was gone. So like I walked home very happy.
Yeah, that's a success.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, sorry, that was a bad one, but
no, that's a good one. That's a perfect good one. I think a work, getting away. Maybe that's what these should be. What have you gotten away with?
Yeah.
Love it. Great stuff. Thank you so much, Oscar.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. It's been fun.
All right, there he was, Oscar Browne, here on 101 Part-Time Jobs. Thanks for listening. Catch Oscar's new EP tomorrow, or actually this Friday, really, if only tomorrow, and catch him on tour in November. 3 headline shows in London, Manchester, and Bristol. Go and follow him where you go, see people's photos and read people's words, all of that stuff. Cheers again for being here. Click subscribe if you want to get some of the future episodes with Big Thief, Jelani Blackman, Pip Blom, and lots more, probably. Cheers for being here. Here's a jingle that I'm very proud of. Thanks to my friend Jay who made it. Cheers. 101 part-time jobs. 101 part-time jobs.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.